How did that feel to kind of pull on that thread and start unraveling that internalized ableism?
I think at first it was so internalized, I guess, that I was just picking on me as a person. It wasn't actually my arm. It felt like it was me as a mum. Like, I'm just not good enough, which is really sad, because I think it's when you're a new mum and it's your first child, that's such a phase of transformation anyway, where you're kind of questioning your identity. Now you've got sole care of this small life and you're a mum to someone. Like, that's wild. And then throw in disability into the mix it's quite hard. But I think it was that made me accept my body.
Oh my goodness gracious me. Nicole, welcome to Disabled and Proud. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm doing really good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. We've just been speaking a little bit off camera, and I'm honestly so excited for this conversation, because I feel like, as I've said it, our lives have crossed paths so many times we just never interacted. And what a perfect time to have our first interaction and record it. Like, we're in 2025. It's the year of social media. Here we are.
Everyone can witness it.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, who doesn't love like a little story on the screen? It'd be great.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I'm really excited. Like, we were saying off camera, I love everything you do, and I've been following you for ages, so it'd be nice to actually chat.
I know, and it'll be so good to chat, because I have been following I Am Possible Foundation for the longest time ever. So actually,
Really?
Let's just dive in at the deep end. Talk to me all about what I Am Possible Foundation is, what it does, how it came about. I want to know everything.
Everything. Okay, so it kind of is. I'm trying to make it like a short story, but basically, I hid my limb difference from probably at the age of 8 up until past when I had my first son. And it wasn't until I had him that I kind of feel like I'd able pass, as they call it. Like, I blended in, put my sleeve down, like, even like I would like avoid photos. Like, my wedding, I asked the photographer to not take photos of my right side, and she was like, no, like, I'm gonna just capture you. And I was like, please, can we maybe not? So like, I really, really wanted to hide. And then I had Noah, my eldest, and I was kind of, it brought up a lot of old kind of internalized ableism for me. And I kind of, you have a lot of people coming around. You've got like the nurses, you've got the healthcare visitors, midwives, and every time they came around and they were watching me, like with Noah, like taking his socks off, putting his socks on, taking his nappy off, because you have to like strip them down to weigh them. I just felt like they were watching me, and like they were assessing if I was a good mum, and they might take like him away from me. Like, kind of, when you say it out loud, it's very irrational, but it really, I could really feel it. And there was just one day where I looked at him and something clicked, and I was like, I don't want him to grow up in a world where his mum sees herself the way she does, and also where like the world sees his mum the way it does. I was like, I'm just done with hiding. I'm done with kind of, I guess, trying to able pass and all the constructs that kind of squish us down. So it was just like this turning point, and I was like, for him, I'm done.
I needed really him. Emotional listening to this. Oh my gosh. It's funny, because I almost, for myself, I couldn't do it. But for him, I was like, fine. And I just kind of put it out into the world. I started sharing my limb different journey as a mum on Instagram, and that kind of picked up. And then I Am Possible was kind of born from the want to just create a platform for people to share their stories, like you do, just share their stories, and increase representation around limb difference. Because there was no mums, for example, with an limb difference, so I felt like I couldn't be a mum, which is such a basic, I don't know, like a rite of passage almost for a woman, like if they choose that. And I felt like it wasn't available to me because I was born with one hand. So it kind of was born there, and then it kind of picked up, and there was 30 ambassadors around the world who wanted to kind of share our story. And then I ended up going on a impact entrepreneurship course, and I was kind of sat, because I Am Possible was a charity at the beginning, so we'd gone through the process of trying to register it, but it didn't feel authentic to me. It was just what I knew. I was like, okay, if you're going to do something like that, it's charity. But I think there's so many other amazing charities out there that support people with limb difference and disability, and I don't want to repeat that work. And I also think we don't almost need more of that. We need something else.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, and I was like, I also like the whole kind of fundraising kind of, it feels like you're begging for money, like that whole...
There's something a bit icky about it, and I completely understand what you're saying about like begging for money. It isn't, but that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And there's it's and disability and the charitable model of disability like have historically gone hand in hand. However, the tide is changing, and the tide also needs to change to not, like, as you said, see something like I Am Possible Foundation as a charity. Like, actually, no, it's going to be a business, and it's actually so... I'm going to say it. It's so fucking lazy to consistently put disabled businesses under the guise of charity. Like, it's so lazy, and it's such a lazy way of thinking. And if you think that the only way like a disabled business is going to succeed is if it's a charity, you need to go and get your head checked. Like, we're in 2025, disabled businesses should be absolutely thriving. And like the charity model has been incredible, and it is incredible because it can do incredible things. However, if you don't want to go down that route, you should also be able to have that option not to go down that route. So I love that.
Yeah, preach. 100%. And still now, so now we, like, once I kind of learned about impact entrepreneurship, I was like, oh, okay, what we can do is generate our own funds by providing services that people pay for. And then you can feed a bit of that back into the community. So you're making a more sustainable funding kind of model for yourself, where you have autonomy over how you support the community in a way that actually works for them, rather than like grants and all the kind of limited funds that you'd get with a charity. So then we turned it into a business and started providing consultancy, training, audits, things like that. So but like you said, it's quite hard. People still assume it's a charity, and they almost feel like you're lucky. Like, they'll give you like a free ticket to something, and then that's payment enough kind of thing. So you're lucky that they've let you in. So we're fighting that fight at the moment.
Honestly, I think that's maybe one of my biggest bugbears working in like DE&I, like, what's the word that I'm looking for? Consulting, that's the word, like consulting space, is that just because we're talking about disability or equality or equity and, you know, all of these things that are really weighty, but, you know, as soon as you had like an official education in this, it would be out of date, right? So everybody's like knowledge and expertise is by experience, which in my personal opinion, I think is the best way forward anyway. But because it's not seen as having this super formal educational route down it, people are like, oh, like it's not worth as much. And you're like, actually, no, it's actually worth a lot more, because we're talking about people's lived experiences and life. So like just a free ticket to something, like a free pass, doesn't quite cut me sharing my story and my experience, because actually I'm unraveling like my own little bits of trauma to make sure that you don't put trauma on other people. So, you know, a free ticket to your event ain't going to cut it.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I remember my first like consulting job was with a big company, and I didn't realize it was a consulting job. It was just like, oh, we're going to have a call and talk about my lived experience. So there was no kind of financial, I guess, conversation or anything. Went into this call. There was 20 plus people from this huge organisation looking like on the screen, looking at me, and they're asking me really personal
eyes
questions.
On you.
Like, asking me really personal questions about something that I guess I've only really been talking about for 5 years, like my lived experience with a limb difference. Like, and came out of it, still no conversation around kind of being paid for it or anything. I was just at the time excited that they listened to me.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until I did that course and I was like, oh, like, actually I should have got paid for that, or something should have happened. I got some free product. And then eventually they did actually come back to me and were like, oh, off their own back, we would like to pay you. And I was like, thank you, I really appreciate that. But I wasn't in the space at the time to, I guess, ask for it.
And also, I think a layer of that probably feeds into women in business, because there is a level when you first start out talking about your lived experience or having these conversations that actually like asking for payment is awkward. And I think it's awkward for anyone. But then I think, again, women in business, there's a level of imposter syndrome that, oh my goodness, like these conversations traditionally have not been had by women. And it's why, you know, going to make quite a controversial statement that men who talk about DE&I actually do better than women that talk about DE&I, particularly disabled men. And it's because I have a whole theory behind this, and I think it's because we're more used to seeing disabled men out in public, and they've been a lot more accepted traditionally in historically than women have, and suddenly women have this voice, and then a disabled woman has a voice, and it's like, oh my god, the world's losing the plot. And actually, no, we've always had a voice, we've just never been allowed to use it. And so I think there's probably like a lot of layers that go into that, but I can completely understand, because when you do get your first jobs, when you're talking about this type of thing, you get so excited. Because you're like, oh my gosh, like what I'm saying is valuable to somebody somewhere, and like my lived experience has actually kind of stood for something, and I can make sure that nobody else goes through what I went through, which is an incredible feeling. But like, as we've just said, that also requires payment.
So, definitely.
Here we are. But actually, I want to go back to what you said about living in a world and showing up for your son and kind of showing him almost positive representation. And actually that means that you need to show up positively for yourself. Something you said, I had never seen a disabled mother, or like a mother who looks like me, being represented in the media. And I think that really hit a nail on the head for me. And that's, you know, very, very close to home. Like, we have quite similar limb differences. I mean, realistically, we probably look the same if we were wearing a jacket. I pass as able-bodied, and as soon as I take my jacket off, people are like, oh, where's her hand gone? And I'm like, it was never there. But what you said about motherhood and representation is that there isn't different variations of motherhood. It kind of all looks like one thing, and actually being that representation for someone else is so valuable. Like, particularly for me, I find it invaluable that somebody who looks like me, who's probably had a pretty similar lived experience to me, shows up online as a mum. Because I think what you said about, you know, when the health visitors come around and the midwives come around, like you would feel like they're watching you to make sure that you can do it. Of course you can. It looks a little bit different to like average Joe Bloggs with 2 hands and 2 feet. But like there's that internalized ableism that it doesn't look like them, so therefore it's wrong.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think that I've never felt more anxious putting a sock on.
Sorry.
Like, when I was by myself, like, I've got 2 younger brothers. I was 9 when they were born. They're twins, so they were like my baby dolls, and I was really excited and like played mum all the time. So I know how to like get a baby dressed and change a nappy. But suddenly, when you've got this healthcare professional watching you, I don't know, you just forget it all. And you're just like, I used to almost practice how quickly I could get their socks on, or their dad would actually just manage the situation. So I wouldn't touch baby whilst they were around because he knew how anxious I was. And it's all just because, there's this one standard around motherhood. And, like, I get a lot of DMs on Instagram about kind of equipment and things like that as well, like buggies and car seats and like, all the little things that I guess until you've done that task, you haven't adapted. You haven't figured out how to adapt it yet because you've not got there. And then suddenly you're kind of waiting for baby and you've got to buy all the equipment, but you can't really practice because baby's not here yet.
It's
just,
But I think that's such a valuable thing to say, is that it won't look the same, and it won't feel, it will, obviously, like, being a mother will feel the exact same. But, you know, like you said, practicing taking socks on and off is something that you might end up doing because of that internalized ableism. And actually, you just hit a really valuable point in like unraveling internalized ableism. I'd love to talk to you about that if that's okay.
How did that feel to kind of pull on that thread and start unraveling that internalized ableism?
It was hard. It felt like, at first, I didn't realise what it was. I think at the time I didn't even have the language for it, because it was like 6 years ago. I was kind of just starting to dip my toe in the world of disability, I guess. I didn't identify as disabled at that point at all. Like, if someone had said that to me, I'd have probably smacked them. Like, I was definitely against it, because I guess the whole kind of more medical model, I guess, like the language around missing, deformity, I can't even say it. Like, look,
I know, right?
But yeah, just
it is horrible, because it's so, the medical model makes you feel like you're something to be fixed, and actually, like, my body doesn't need to be fixed. I am perfect. Like, my body, I'm so appreciative of what it does for me. I don't need to be fixed. I don't need a doctor to come in and be like, oh, we're going to try this and we're going to try this. No, I don't want that, and I don't need that. But the medical model says otherwise.
Yeah, and I guess having to unravel that ableism almost in the presence of medical stuff, it just added that element of, like, I know you think I'm broken, so therefore do you think I can look after this tiny life? Because you already, I feel like it's probably quite a universal experience when you walk out of that hospital with a new life, to be like, oh, you sure? Like, you sure you want to trust me with this?
Do I have the qualifications for this? Maybe not.
Yeah, like you all had training. Like okay, fine.
Yeah.
But then you've got the layer of disability, and then the medical model of disability, and it's very messy. And I think at first it was so internalized, I guess, that I was just picking on me as a person. It wasn't actually my arm. It felt like it was me as a mum.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not good enough, which is really sad, because I think it's, when you're a new mum, it's your first child, that's such a phase of transformation anyway, where you're kind of questioning your identity. You've got sole care of this small life, and you're a mum to someone. Like, that's wild. You're suddenly a mum, and then throw in disability into the mix is, it's quite hard. But I think it was that made me accept my body, which there had to be something, I guess, some kind of catalyst to start pulling that thread, to start questioning those thoughts and be like, but you can do that thing. Like, you can put the socks on when no one's watching.
Yeah.
But then put a midwife in the mix, and suddenly, like, your hand's sweaty and you're like panicking.
Yeah.
So like, you can do it. Why does it matter the environment you're in and who's watching? And I think that was a big realization for me. And it still comes up now, like, sometimes, where I might have to do a task with strangers watching that I'm not used to. And I'm like, okay, let's just roll with it. Like, I'll figure it out. But yeah, it's hard.
It's really funny, because I feel like my thing sometimes is washing the dishes. So if someone watches me washing the dishes, I'm like, could you just not? Like, I just don't need you to watch me doing this. It's a really boring task, but also, like, I don't wash dishes how you wash dishes. So, like, I don't need you to, like, look at me like I'm a specimen.
I totally get that. Mine's like cutting things as well. Like,
yeah, I can understand that.
I love my mum so much, and she's always been very much, you can do it, but give me a knife and an onion, and she can't do. She's like, I'll do it. Like, she tries to take over and she freaks out, and I'm like, no, it's okay.
We're good.
I mean, I don't like cutting an onion, so you can do it for me, but, like,
do you know what? There's also certain things that I just won't do, not because I'm disabled. I just don't want to do them, and that might be one of them.
Yeah, I don't want the stinging eyes, so you can do that, that's fine.
Oh my gosh, my eyes water so much. It literally looks like I'm flooding out of my eyes. Like, all of the liquid leaves my body through my eyes when I cut an onion.
Really?
I'm like, my face goes a bit red and blotchy, and it looks like I'm having like a full-blown meltdown. And I'm not. It's just an onion. Yeah,
just
wild.
Onion. Yeah, no, that's not cool. My dad used to get swimming goggles. So if you want to do the task still.
Well, I once tried putting a bit of bread in my mouth because apparently it's meant to like absorb the chemical that, I don't know, it's something to, it blocks it anyway to get your eyes. I can confirm that does not work. Or if it does, I did it wrong because I was still absolutely bawling and I was like, for Christ's sake.
That's so funny.
I know. I'm actually, this is what I was coming back to earlier. I'm actually the world's biggest loser, but I own it. So I think that makes me like, all right.
You can rock the bread, it's fine.
Yeah. And actually, it was kind of a tasty snack. So, you know, who's the real loser here?
That's funny.
I love that you are so open about your motherhood journey because, like I said, I think it's really valuable because when I was growing up, and I guess we're probably around about similar ages, I did not have that representation. And something you said was I didn't even know if that was an option to me. And I have thought about this so many different times on so many different like academic levels, like social levels, economic levels, is that if we don't see things that are open to us, how do we know that we can do them? And yet, don't get me wrong, I'm all for visualization and I'm all for like, you know, seeing into the future. But if you have never seen someone who physically looks like you do some form of job like that, you know, we'll call motherhood the job for whatever intents and purposes the conversation is having, it can be really, really difficult to know how to navigate that area. And so for you to be able to show up for other people who might be limb different and are navigating motherhood for the first time, what a valuable thing to be able to put out into the world, particularly as something that you found really awkward, you know, like 5-6 years ago, you know, as you said, like you wouldn't have used the word disabled, you know, you probably would have smacked someone if they'd said that to you. And then to be able to open up and share your journey online, how valuable is that? Because I bet so many people find so much value in that and find a level of comfort. And also, even for like younger people to know that they can also do that too, must be phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it didn't really hit me at first when I was sharing. And then I started getting really nice messages. I've actually got like a little screenshot photo album in my phone.
Same!
It just, I think sometimes you can almost feel like you're oversharing or like you're not showing up right, you're not doing the right thing. And then I'll go into that like little album and be like, okay, no, it is making a difference. And I think, especially at the moment, the world feels quite hard around disability. Mm-hmm. So I guess like having that, like those comments and those messages where you're hearing that there's like a first time mum with a limb difference who is appreciating what you're sharing and wants to know what equipment you use, or a mum of a child with a limb difference who wants to know, wants to just see actually that their child will be fine if they choose to have children. Like it's so impactful, and it helps to, I guess, ground me, like going back and looking at them occasionally when the world feels hard. Be like, okay, like at an individual basis, this is doing something. So, yeah.
And also, I think because we're so used to like having so much media thrown at us all the time, is that the idea of like small wins kind of gets lost, and like how to appreciate small wins gets kind of lost on us because we're so used to like instant gratification. And like, you think about how easy it is to like something on Instagram. Real life isn't like that. Like I can't just go and like an apple. Like when you think of it, and that like that sounds super reductive, but it kind of gets the point across that I'm making. When it's like that, you have to be able to look at the things that someone has said to you and take it as face value and be like, thank you so much for that, because actually you're right. The world feels really heavy and really hard about disability right now. But being able to look at your journey and seeing the impact that you might be making, small scale, big scale, whatever scale, that it's making an impact on somebody somewhere is important, like full stop.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think there was one experience I had in person, which still sticks with me. When I was in Tesco's, I think it was my second child. He was tiny and in one of those like car seat trolley things. Yeah. And it was like the first time I was going out with him. And so we were just kind of trotting along, like just us two. And this woman was staring at me. And I was like, oh, okay, like deep breath, fine. Like, don't really have the energy for this. So newborn baby, like I'm going to try and be nice if something happens. And then she came up to me and she was like, by this point I've got my wall up and I'm like, like ready. Yeah. And
she's like, oh, excuse me, like, can I take a picture of you? And I was like, okay. She's like, because my daughter actually has a limb difference like yours, and she's really worried about being a mum, and seeing you like is amazing. Like she'll really appreciate me kind of telling her I've seen you, and I'd love to take a photo of you with baby if that's okay. And like my whole kind of headspace flipped, and I was like, oh my goodness, yes, like take the photo, here's my Instagram. I was like, DM me. But that's so much better than a like a do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a real life experience. Yeah.
Something I would love to delve into with you is sports, particularly surrounding like para sports. And we've spoken a little bit about CrossFit before, but am I correct? And I think I am correct. I'm very rarely wrong in thinking that you are on the para pathway for the next Paralympics.
Yep. That's me.
How exciting.
Yeah, it's wild. When I went to the Paralympics, well, last September, I could never have imagined. Again, if you'd said that to me, I'd have probably tried to kick you, but not done it very well.
Tell me all about this. So how did you get into para sports?
So I kind of got into, what was it first? I did like gym stuff, like I was doing spinning, things like that. And then, I went to the Paralympics last year, so in Paris. And we took I Am Possible there. And we were just going to some events, we were meeting some athletes. And it was actually the Kazakhstan team that invited us to watch Taekwondo. And we were like invited to the friends and family area before we interviewed one of their athletes. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if you ever had it where there's just a moment that something clicks and you feel like this is going to be something. Yeah. And you're like, oh, but I don't know what this is going to be yet. And at the time when it happened, it was Beth Monroe was walking out. So she's a GB athlete. She was walking out onto the mat. And I don't know, I felt this like, my stomach dropped and I felt really anxious for her. And I was like, oh my goodness, this must be wild. Stepping onto that mat. Like the venue was amazing, it was huge, and there's just her in the middle. And I was like, oof. Yeah. But at the same time I was like, I want to do that. And I had like a little conversation in my head and I was like, no you don't. Like that's scary, let's not do that.
You actually? No, I didn't.
And I watched that fight, and there was something as well about the whole crowd just kind of went wild. Every time the athletes came out, and there was so much appreciation for their hard work, their skill. It was nothing to do with their disability, actually. Like, there's an acknowledgement, obviously, that they have limb difference, but it was all to do with their hard work and their skill. And I'd never really witnessed that in real life. Yeah. Like, that kind of... It was general public. It's not kind of the disability community cheering on the disability community. It was general public appreciating athletes for athletes. And it wasn't like a pity narrative. There wasn't that pity narrative like woven into it. Like that whole situation, I was just like, oh, this... I used to do kickboxing, like this looks fun. Like, I could give this a crack. And then I was following Amy Truesdale, trying to get tickets to watch her. Couldn't get them because she was sold out, and then she got her gold, and then she shared a story with like a link to a form that was just like they're recruiting people, and I'm sat in the airport in Paris and I'm like, do you know,
why not?
I mean, like that feeling was something, so let's just roll with it. Filled in the form, it crashed, so I lost everything. And like I have a bit of like a 3-year-old tantrum in me sometimes, and I was like, well, I'm gonna leave it, I'm not gonna do it. And then my partner took my phone and was like, right, yeah, I'll do it. So he did it just before we took off, and then within 3 weeks I was up in Manchester at the headquarters for GB Taekwondo doing a presentation about disability to their coaches and meeting them to talk about starting training.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. And also that is such a moment from the universe being like, here you go. Or like literally like plopping you in the perfect place at the perfect time and being like, see what happens. Enjoy.
Yeah. It felt like it was like a bit of a whiff of something, and I was like, do I want to listen to that calling? Like, it looks scary, but yeah, and I love it, honestly. Like, I'm so grateful that, like, I almost didn't go to the Paralympics, and if I hadn't, I wouldn't have taekwondo. Like, I don't think it would have hit the same.
That is, I love that as well. And so when it comes to like training, what does that look like for you? And how do you approach it in terms of when you go in, when you step through the front door, is it something that you've previously spoken to like coaches, trainers about, or is it something where you turn up and you're like, haha, free for all, figure me out?
So when I started at my gym, it was like you had like a free introductory kind of, I don't know what you call it, like session. So that was kind of like surprise, like just rock up and be like, ta-da! See what you can do with me. And then like after I broke my arm, I went back again once it healed, and I was like, surprise, now you've got this and this to deal with. And they were like, okay. So they helped me approach things differently that time. But then with my taekwondo coach, he met me obviously through that kind of pathway. So he was already kind of clued up on things. Like, we still have chats, and he's super open to learning about everything to do with disability and language and things like that. So he always asks me, he's like, is that the right word? Like, is this the right thing to do? But yeah, we do training once a week. So I'm actually going this evening. I'll go over. And it's funny because it's all lower body, a lot of it. So I don't really think about having to adapt too much when I'm in training sessions there. The main thing is covering your body, because with para taekwondo it's kicking and it's got to be just on your torso, so just where the bodyguard is, which is just above your waist to like just below your kind of collarbone. So obviously if you've got two hands, then you've got more protective space. Like, whereas I've got to think about blocking differently, so that, because there's just an open area that people can get to. So that's kind of where the disability side comes in for me, I guess. And then at the gym, I've just I've got a, what's it called, like an ankle strap for cable.
For cable
jeans, which is amazing. So I've been using that a lot for just upper body, because I don't know how you find it, but I've got like an inch difference between either side of my arm.
God, the difference is like the Hulk, and then I'm Groot on the other side. And like I joke about it, but then I'm like, actually no, I really need to sort this out, because like I must be wonky as hell. And to be fair, like for me, it is something that I'm trying to work on, because I think, oh my goodness gracious me, like I have a lot of strength in, and like the same will be for you, because you use like your dominant hand so much, and I have so much strength in this side. But my right arm, my right side, I'm like, oh god, I need to do a little bit of work here, because I'm looking really hench on one side and very skinny on the other.
It's hard though, like getting those like muscles to actually move. I don't know, like I'm still figuring it out at the gym.
It's hard, man. It's like muscle activation is really difficult, and what I have realized is that it takes so much more brain power to like think about how I move my right than how I move my left. Obviously, because as someone who has a limb difference, I'm so dominant on the side that has my hand, because that's what I like rely on for the vast majority of the day stuff. And actually, as I'm kind of progressing through like my gym life and my active lifestyle, which like I do have quite an active lifestyle, I'm realizing that actually I should use my right hand side, or the side that has a limb difference, so much more than I do, because by not using it, and it is that classic case of like, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And the thought of not being able to like use my arms for strength in like 10 years time petrifies the piss out of me. Also, I don't have kids yet. I would love to have kids. So if I can't hold up my kids, that is a problem. And so trying to build that like mind muscle connection, movement, mindset, oh my gosh, for my right hand side, hard work. But then I think I'm very lucky that I get to be able to call that hard work. You know, like if that's one of the hardest things that I'll have to do, then my life is actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. And I feel like my limb difference side got stronger when I had kids, because you have to hold like Like there's always like people sharing on like Instagram like, oh, like when you become a mum, I can't remember what the quote is, but when you become a mum, you learn how to do everything one-handed. And I'm like, huh?
So, do it already, full-time legend.
I'm doing it no-handed. But yeah, you have to use this arm so much more to like hold them up, and I can hold my toddler just with this side. Yeah. Because you just have to. Like, you just have to, I guess, like, just figure it out. But yeah, like, training, other than that, it's just running. Lots of running, getting the cardio up. And, yeah, lots of squats. And I'm lucky that my coach's daughters are both on the development team as well for GB. So they're, like, amazing. So I get to spar with them. And at the moment, I feel like I completely suck at it because I'm fighting people that are top tier, like
and they've been doing it for years, and you've been doing it for how long?
5 months.
Like exactly 5 months, and like you're on the power pathway. I think that's absolutely incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, I had my first fight a few weekends ago, and I think that taught me so much as well. I don't know if you find it with CrossFit, but competing and like the whole dynamic with sport, I think teaches you so much about yourself.
Yeah, massively. I think sports is one of the things that I always recommend anybody to do, regardless of like your disability, who you are, what you stand for. I think sports can teach you so much about yourself, individually and also team sports. I'm a really, really big believer in like particularly kids playing team sports because I think it teaches you so much more about communication and interaction with people, and there's so many like positive benefits. But I know exactly what you mean. When I do like a CrossFit competition, I learn very quickly where my weaknesses are and where I need to work, and where I've like almost done the work, and actually I can leave that for a couple of months and I need to focus on something else to get it to the same level. And I love that competitive environment, particularly when it's like and everyone is always like, oh, it's you against everybody else, and I'm like, no, it's me against me. If I do better than last time, incredible. If I don't, there's a problem. And that's when I'm like, okay, let's sit back and look at where I need to work here, and here to make sure that I don't do worse than I did last time. Because actually, big believer in moving and growing and consistently going after things. So if I'm not doing that, then I'm not following like by the rules that I like want to live my life by. And so, and competition is really the only place that you kind of get to see that play out, because as much as you can spar with people, or you can, you know, piss around with people in your gym, or just, you know, like have a fun, like friendly competition, there is nothing like stepping onto a competitive dance floor and not really knowing your opponent, or not really knowing the people that you're competing against, and just going for it, because their strengths and their weaknesses are going to be different to yours, and it's about how you navigate that on that day, on that time, with all of the things that you have learned in the previous, I don't know, like 6 months.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think because my first fight I lost, but you still get a medal, right? Because it was a straight final, so I still got a silver. And my partner was trying to be really encouraging. He was like, "Well done, like you did it." It was my first ever fight. So there's like a wall of people cheering, and there's so much to kind of navigate. And I was playing full contact as well, so headshots, so it was not power rules. I went full in.
I had a headache as soon as you said that.
Luckily, she was very nice. She just did a little, so it was fine.
Just a little tap with her foot.
Yeah. She was very controlled. But yeah, so I went kind of full in, and lost it. But it was my first one. But I am my own worst critic. Yeah, I am very competitive with myself, like you said. So I kind of went outside, and I was processing, because it was like the first time I guess I had lost. And I was picking on myself. I was like, you need to do this more, you need to do that more. Like, I was kind of, I guess, giving myself a debrief. And my partner's trying to hype me up. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, like, thank you so much, but stop.
Yeah. I'm not actually feeling good about this. Like, it's fine. I know it's my first fight. I know it's this, I know it's that. But, there's just this competitiveness, which I guess you need. And you need to want to learn from what's not gone well. Yeah. To then reflect. And then I had a fight later on, like 4 hours later, and I won it because I learned. I learned from that, and was able to pretty much kind of implement it straight away, which was amazing.
I think if I'd gone away and just lost that fight and not had someone else to fight to kind of adjust things, I'd have felt a bit different. But it's definitely a competition with myself.
I really relate to what you were saying about going outside and having a moment with yourself. I was once in a competition and I didn't do as well as I'd wanted to, and I knew that I'd like let myself down, and that's what was upsetting me. But I had to take myself outside and go for a walk, and on that walk I had to go, I couldn't stop crying. I was like, but it wasn't like sad as in like, I'm so upset. I was so angry that I was like, oh my God, like how could you do that? And then came back in and a friend of mine was there and he was like, B, like, it's okay. Like, you did really well. And I was like, no. I love that you want to be this person for me right now. And I really appreciate you, but you need to stop because it's not actually going to help me. It's actually just going to piss me off even more. Love you. Thank you so much. You're a gorgeous human being. I adore you, but not right now. Maybe tomorrow I'll appreciate that. But right now I won't appreciate it.
Yeah.
And he kind of just looked at me and he was like, do you know that you're like a bit of a psycho? And I was like, no. I was like, I'm processing. This is how I do it. I appreciate what you're trying to implement. I will appreciate it even more in 12 hours time, just not right now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was so conscious. I was like, I don't want to be like an arse. Like, I know you're trying to make me feel better, but also just stop. Like, nothing's going to fix this.
Yeah. And I think that's like part and parcel of being like a competitive person, is that actually like no matter who the person is, if you say that to someone who knows that they could have done better, it doesn't help at the moment. The next day it's actually so valuable, but at that point in time when you're already kind of like having an internal argument with yourself, it's actually the least helpful thing in ever.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And like there was a lot of attention. I don't know if you have it with competitions as well, but like I went for my weigh-in and my partner could hear them talking about the two paras that were going to be competing, so there was like it felt like people were really watching, and it just felt like a little added pressure because I was seen as different, that everyone was watching, and I'm like, oh well, I wanted to do the disability community justice as well and show everyone that we can do it, and then I lost, and I was like, so there was that element too where I was just not happy with myself.
And you're right, there are so many elements to it, because it's not actually I don't know how you feel, but it's not just for me. I'm not turning up on the dance floor just for me. Like, I want to make sure that if there's a little kid in the crowd who is limb different or even disabled or a wheelchair user, that they can go and do whatever sport they choose, and like they can still do the exact same thing as everybody else. And it's really interesting having this conversation with you, because as you're saying something, I'm like, oh my God, I do that too. Oh my goodness, like, I completely understand what you're saying, because I do the same thing. And it's right, you do turn up on the floor and you're like, okay, this isn't just for me, it's for everybody who kind of looks like me or who doesn't look like me but has a disability. And actually, like, I'm proving a point. And some people will say that's unhealthy, but I personally think it's very healthy, because it adds fuel to my fire, and that's how I like it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel like with a lot of things that I guess disability kind of gives me, like it could be seen as unhealthy, but actually it motivates me. Like, it just pushes you further. And I think people, it might be a broad statement, but if you've had a very comfortable life, then you don't have that oomph to like prove something, to push yourself out of your comfort zone. You just kind of coast. Whereas I'm kind of grateful for all the barriers and the things that I've had to kind of smash through, because it's given me that oomph.
Yeah. And this has literally just come in to my head as you said that. Because you started unraveling this a couple of years ago, have you only just now realised how many barriers that you've smashed in your life without realising that they were barriers?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think there's times when things felt hard, like in employment and things, where things felt yucky, like you said yucky earlier, or icky. Like that's the word. Like before I knew ableism, that felt yucky. Like,
that felt like that gave me the ick.
Yeah, and I think I didn't realise what I'd kind of pushed through until I got here. And I look back and I find it quite hard to give myself credit for it as well.
Yeah.
Because there's like, I don't know, I went to Sierra Leone last year, and that gave me a really different perspective again. It felt like it flipped my worldview, because it's the third poorest country in the world.
Yeah.
Like, it makes any issue that we see in England,
not nothing, because obviously it's all relative, but when you then go and see what I saw in Sierra Leone, you can't even comprehend it.
Yeah.
And like I came back here and I just felt so privileged to have to sit on my sofa and have a, like, when my sons wouldn't eat their dinner, I was trying to not turn into my mum and be like, oh, there's children starving. Like, but at the same time, I eat it. So, I've had a few like transformational, I guess, experiences that have put things, it kind of feels like extremes in perspective. Like,
it's funny that you say that though, because I think I'm quite like that. Like, I need the extremes in life, and kind of like yourself as well. I don't dive in, like, I don't just dip my toe in. I'm like head first in the baby pool, probably smacking my head against the tile. That's the kind of person that I am. And I think when you throw disability into that mix, you don't necessarily realise that things in your past have actually all been internalized ableism until you kind of have the language, and you aren't given the language. Like, you have to actually root around for this language. And when you think about that in and of itself, you're like, that's ableism too. The fact that I have to search for what these feelings are, and nobody has explained this to me, considering I've been disabled my whole entire life, that is also ableism.
That's so true.
And it's a bit like an atomic bomb going off in your head when that happens, isn't it? You're a bit like, oh my God, everything is ableism.
Yeah, just itself. That's wild. I hadn't thought about it like that. Yeah, because everything, like, I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was like, just as I finished uni. And before that, it was almost just assumed I was stupid because of my arm. Like, even when I was born, they tested me for so many other genetic conditions just because they looked at my arm. Like, they thought I'd have other learning disabilities, and like the prognosis my mum was given was she's not going to have any kind of life, like, just mentally, let alone physically. And it's wild. You're just like, oh, yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah. And then got through uni, because that was a push in itself. I was always told I was stupid. But it was just, I found the way I process things is very different. So yeah, like, I got to the end of uni and then I got diagnosed. And the man who like diagnosed me shook my hand. He was like, well done. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, you've got this far. Like, your dyslexia is like top of the spectrum kind of thing.
You're up here and you've managed this far. Well done. Like, you shouldn't be here.
I was like, thank you. I don't know. Yeah. But because I guess I hadn't had the support, it was more that side of it from him. But yeah, like, before that, even that's ableism. They just assumed, well, like, it's because she's physically disabled that she can't spell. Like, that was not the case.
That is absolutely insane. I am going to stop this conversation here because I feel like this could be like a 2-episode situation, because I've absolutely loved delving into bits and pieces with you today. And it honestly has been a pleasure and I've loved it. So thank you so much for coming on. I had the best time.
Oh, thank you so much. I love chatting to you. And yeah, like, I'd love to come back on and chat more. So
absolutely. So I think we've got so much more to delve into. I think it would be so phenomenal. So thank you so much for coming on. I've absolutely loved it.
Thank you.